It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy day after Thanksgiving.
Friday.
To one and all.
The nice thing about the day after Thanksgiving, it's usually a Friday.
Usually?
Well, there's a name for today, too, not just the day after Thanksgiving. There's an actual name for today.
Friday.
It's a holiday.
Is it?
I don't know. You know what? I don't think... Okay, even though Black Friday is a positive thing for our society, like economically it's good. You know, people out there spending dough, you know, and buying gifts, which is ultimately, I think, a positive thing in society. You know what I mean? Thinking of others, that sort of thing. But the actual day itself, I don't think is really a positive.
Okay.
You know, I hope people keep like an earpiece in and stream Jake and Ben as they're icing their knuckles in the parking lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that, the fever of it all, I find troubling. The spirit, the economic impact, terrific. The like almost, and maybe it's not that bad anymore now that online is more of a thing.
Yes.
But when I worked at Sears, I'm telling you what I witnessed first person with my own two eyeballs was not good for anybody. You know what I mean? That like that's not healthy.
The 5 a.m. thing, I don't think really exists much anymore.
No, where you're literally running over grandmothers to get something that you probably don't even need or want to give to somebody, but someone's said, "Hey, this is a great deal," and so it's like, "Well, too bad, Grandma. I'm gonna stomp you with my Doc Martens that I wore on purpose."
And then a decade ago, it became they're doing it like 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving night, which I absolutely despised. And they've really backed off that. So it's better now probably than it's ever been, I would imagine.
But if you witness it from the other side, I gotta believe that you are just like, you know what? This is a thing I'm not going to participate in. I've never participated in Black Friday shopping. I mean, I don't think I did before, but I certainly didn't after experiencing on that side.
It's like everyone should work in a restaurant. So you know what it's like to be a server or in the service industry, work in a hotel, whatever it is. So you understand what it's like to treat people like humans, even if you are at a restaurant or at a hotel or on vacation or whatever. Recognize everyone's just doing their job.
That 99% of the service people you come in contact with are genuinely trying to help you.
Yeah. Are there to do a job to make your life a little easier.
Yeah.
So, yeah, work a Black Friday. I'm trying to think of what Black Fridays I would have worked.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
So it's not that way anymore. Again, I don't participate and haven't for a long time.
I just don't feel the rush. I used to just know people who do it, and I don't feel like anyone talks about really doing it so much. And I think that's like, you know, if your neighbor's not doing it, there's probably fewer people doing it overall.
I am so skeptical of sales to begin with. Like, well, one of the great things we talk about all the time, Ben, that I truly love and endorse about Peach Windows and Doors is they don't artificially price it to put it on sale.
Yep.
Like, think of that for a second. That's so annoying.
Yeah.
I love that about Peach. So all of a sudden, sales are going to motivate me to participate in that. I don't think so. Could probably find a better sale somewhere else.
Yeah.
Under different circumstances.
Yep. No question.
All right. Good times. But there is a lot of football, and it does have like a holiday feel to it.
For sure. Well, there's a midday game.
You know,
there's
for
a lot of
reason.
midday games.
We've got David James found some weird thing where we've got 4 screens and one in front of us.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing Armpit isn't on today.
No, because there's games all day. So, yeah, we've got the Boise State game about to kick off. We've got East Carolina and Navy is already underway. I'm excited for Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders' last game in Colorado coming up in 25 minutes. So, yeah.
That Ashton Genty guy's pretty good.
Quite good.
I hope he gets the Heisman.
He won't.
He won't.
Yeah.
But I hope he does.
He'll be second.
Behind
Travis.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Fafita.
No, Travis Hunter's going to run away with this thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though Colorado likely loses today?
Yep.
And I don't know, is Colorado that good?
He is. He's that good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good times. I'm glad we have games. We have an NFL game today. Now, is it streaming in some weird place?
I believe it's an Amazon game.
An Amazon?
Because they didn't get a game last night.
And it's Black Friday, so I'm sure that you're going to
that makes sense.
bombarded with Amazon Black Friday.
That's good advertising.
Well, they want to
Smart.
keep people out of the stores.
And online.
Yep. So dangle a football game out there. That isn't on accident. Hey, we don't want the brick and mortar folk getting more. How can we keep them home? I know.
Yeah.
An NFL football game. With the Chiefs, nonetheless, right? And the horrible Raiders?
Ugh. Okay, that's not a good game. Never mind.
Well, the Chiefs are always a draw.
Yeah.
I saw somebody online, and I'm curious if you agree with this, and we'll do some more productive things here coming up. But that never hire the interim guy, just as a general rule.
For the most part, yes. Yeah, Ty Corbin.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
And they didn't even make an interim. They just made him the head coach right away. Yes, they should have hit him with the interim tag and let his deal run out and realized, okay, there's not a ton here. We're restarting, trading Darren Williams. Let's just totally hit the reset button.
We can do some other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm trying. It got me thinking. Interim guys, has it ever really been?
Of course, there's going to be a handful.
Is
I'm
there?
sure that have stepped up and coached well. Yeah. Guys who have
Not
found
coached
a job.
well, but succeeded long term. I don't know. I'm sure there is some. You're right.
Yeah.
But I'd be darned if I could think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's not like the obvious answer that
Like
jumps
the
out.
interim guy that coached so well that he kept his job. You could make an argument that the Trojans should have done that with Ed Ogeron and not with what's his name, who they ended up.
Yeah, that was the name I was thinking, was Ed Ogeron.
But they didn't do it.
Right. He could have done it well.
Maybe.
And they moved on from him.
I know he got a national title with Burrow, but he ended up being kind of a bozo.
Yeah.
I mean, he cheated well.
That's what it takes.
That was always his thing. But coaching, he wasn't. That was his short suit. That's why he didn't work at Ole Miss. It's like, wow, you got some good players, but they're trying to score on their own goal there.
Apparently Dabo was?
Was Dabo? Okay. There you go. That's a success story for sure.
And then it's like, you're getting down to like Clay Helton.
Nope.
Yeah, not a guy.
Nope, that's not it.
Ryan Day apparently was?
Yeah, but he was set up as Urban's heir apparent.
Yeah.
That was like a predestined thing.
And then it does mention Ed Ogeron, so not many.
Anyway, Antonio Pierce certainly isn't going to break that mold for the Raiders. Mark Davis is not good at this.
No, he's not.
Get me that coach.
His best success is moving the team to Vegas.
Give me the coach. You mean the coach that played a really big role in burning down Arizona State and that program? You mean that coach?
I want him.
Yeah, hire that coach. You mean the coach that was only the interim coach because we had literally no other option? Yeah, that one. What? But then again, they hired what was the guy, the Patriots guy before that?
Yeah, not Matt Patricia. But the other guy.
McDaniel. Yeah, of course you know, Christian, the Broncos guy. McDaniel. Give me that,
was that his second bite at the apple?
Yeah, he had the Broncos.
He had the Broncos job first.
He coached the Broncos in like the 2010 or something.
Yeah.
He drafted
and then he was so bad that he
Tebow.
didn't get another job for a very long time.
And then the Raiders were like, might work for us.
Might work for us. The guy who said, get me Tebow in the first round.
Yeah.
Get me that guy. That guy. Mark Davis. Jeez. John Madden is somewhere he's thinking of reanimating John Madden.
I thought we did our draft on Wednesday of careers you'd like to relive. John Madden. I would absolutely take John Madden, either as a coach or a broadcaster.
More broadcaster.
Yeah, but I'd put him out there. I mean, he's a great coach. But yeah, I'd put him out on the broadcaster as well.
Okay, can we talk for a minute. I was thinking about where we wanted to go today. And we've got top 3 coming up, and we've got Mitch and Steve, of course.
We're busy.
But
yeah.
I do want to talk about intelligence.
Okay.
And maybe we can get into the top 3. And who has intelligence and who doesn't.
Well, Matt Eberflus doesn't, if that's who you're alluding to.
On a grand scale and on a small scale. All right, top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. 2 locations. This info is very important, especially today. Traverse Mountain in Lehigh and across from Fashion Place Mall on Winchester Street. And they do have good parking over there. So don't.
Yeah.
That's important on a day like today. Right. So check it out, J. Brooks. All right, Christian, where are we starting?
Number 1, the Utes wrapping up their season tonight in Orlando.
UCF, Ben.
The Bounce House. I think Utah wants to win this game. There's no reason not to try and win this game. I mean, not that there ever is a reason to not win a game in college football. You're not trying to get a number 1 overall draft pick, but I think the Utes are going to come out and play hard. I expect them to play a good game. I don't think this is a team that's quit.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's a long way to go. UCF's going to try and run it a lot, so it means it's going to be tough, and I mean that not like, I guess, competitively as much as I mean it like tough. Like, going to be a tough team to play. You're going to have to tackle. You're going to have to do all those basic fundamentals of football that aren't necessarily easy. Do that well to win. They're going to have to find an offense from somewhere just enough, which I mean, they very easily could. I don't think that those players out there, listen to Mekhi Bernard on with the afternoon guys. Like, that dude hasn't quit anything. They're going to go give it their all. But does that mean that they have the perfect game plan or are able to win? I don't know.
Batari is obviously a huge question mark starting at quarterback. He did beat Colorado in a similar game last year. He showed off his wheels a little bit last week, and I thought that was a tool that Utah could have used all year long. Not that I think they should have played Batari, but I just mean having the ability to move the ball with your quarterback's run game would have been helpful, and I think that will help them against Central Florida tonight. I think there's a real chance Central Florida's I know Houston was really bad and Utah lost to them on the road. I know Arizona's had a bad season, but Central Florida's easily the worst team Utah's played in a while. Over a month. Because Iowa State's good, Colorado's good, and BYU's good. So there's a chance Utah's toughened up a little bit after playing those games, and I know they got blown out by Colorado, but they played BYU pretty tough. They played Iowa State tough. If they play as well as they did in those games against Central Florida, they're going to win today.
Okay.
And then you're 5-7, and the season's over. But regardless, I think some Utah fans probably happy to be done with this season, but also you're going to miss college football when it's gone. You always do.
Ben, your Buffs are already leading Oklahoma State 7-0.
The rushing touchdown.
So
it's the first time that's happened all season. I don't think that's true.
It happened against Utah.
Yeah, they don't run a whole lot, as you mentioned.
Well, is Shedeur the running back?
He didn't run it in, I don't think.
No. But I mean, positionally, is he the running back?
No.
Is his NFL future playing running back?
No, in fact, there's no Sanders named at running back on the team.
So, yeah, they're going to throw it.
They're not going to run the ball.
Yeah, so they're going to throw it. And you know what, to Shedeur's credit, because making those jokes, you got to balance it out a little. He's great. I mean, he's a really good player. He holds the ball a little long for my taste, and he'll have to rectify that in the NFL a la Fingernails, who's
or die
trying to figure out the same thing.
Or get your head torn off.
But,
Yeah.
Here it's fairly effective.
Yep.
All right, next.
Number 2, Ben, this one's for you. BYU has a must-win game tomorrow.
Finally here, baby. We finally got our must-wins.
7th must-win of the season.
Well, and thank goodness they've won the other games that they have, because otherwise this wouldn't be a must-win.
Wasn't last weekend a must-win?
No.
That's what you said. Christian, let's go to the tape. You said, you know what? Finally, it truly is. This can actually be true. A must-win for BYU. Was it not, Christian?
It was a must-win.
Something like that.
Yeah, I know.
If BYU wanted to control their own destiny, and they no longer do. So that is out of their control. But they have no chance of getting to the Big 12 title game if they lose tomorrow.
You know, the problem with adding caveats to a phrase like must-win is it makes it into, like, the same can't be true at once, you know? You can't say it's a must-win because of this.
That's why it's a must-win.
Not a must-win.
No, it absolutely is. What? That's not. There's no logic to what you're saying. I get what you're trying to say, but there's no logic to what you're saying. No, of course, must-win has context.
Does it?
Yes, because must-win without context. What do you mean? They're going to kill the kids? No, they're fine. Must win? They go home to their mom after they have Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, they're fine. They don't ever have to win a game ever. We're not shunning them from society. No, it's not a must-win. You're right. They're welcome to be alive still.
Okay, weirdo. Don't go to the ultimate consequence. I'm talking about
because it's okay to add context to what you say when you say must-win. It's fine to say it.
Your purpose. The purpose of Ben is being obnoxious on a Black Friday. The purpose of a college football team is to
win games.
Win it all or win the league.
Yep.
I mean, quite literally not a must-win for those things.
For BYU, today is a must-win. If you want to win the league tomorrow, their next game is actually a must-win.
Correct. Last week, however, where you tried to add the caveat.
To control their own destiny.
Yeah, right.
They had to win to control their own destiny.
Not true. Well, true, but makes it not a must-win.
If I may, it makes sense that last week would have been a must-win because they wouldn't be in the situation they're in today where they need another team to lose.
Are they still alive for all the things?
Technically.
Yeah, technically. Yeah, we're talking about when you use a phrase like must win, that's a very technical word, must, meaning have to. They quite literally didn't have to beat Arizona State. They're still alive today.
They are. You're correct.
Anyways.
And not actually alive, but literal Larry.
They will know if tomorrow's a must-win or not by about the end of the first quarter.
By if they're still breathing on Sunday morning? No, that's not what I'm saying.
They will know if it's a must-win or not by late in the game because if Arizona State has beat Arizona and Iowa State has beaten Kansas State, then BYU is drawing dead. And it will no longer be a must-win for BYU.
They should be easily able to score enough points to beat Houston.
Yeah, they're going to crush Houston.
They should.
Yeah, it's going to be an ugly game.
So, good time. So, they have a good chance in their must-win. That's nice for them.
Nope, no context. Don't add anything to it.
Don't
talk about it. It's just a must-win.
What's next?
Number 3, the Utah Hockey Club. They're hosting the Edmonton Oilers tonight after a long road trip.
Connor McDavid, the greatest player on the planet, in town right now, which is a very cool thing. So if you're going to see this game, you are seeing the current, I don't even know who the apt comparison is for him right now in the NBA.
Not
I guess
LeBron.
Jokic. Yeah, probably a Jokic type. He is a threat to score or to record 150 points a year. He's absolutely awesome. He is really fun to watch. He single-handedly got that team, I don't want to say single-handedly, that's not fair to his teammates, but got that team to the Stanley Cup final last year. They did come up short in Game 7, but he's incredible. He's just amazing to watch. But the Utah Hockey Club coming off a big win, and coming back home after a 4-game road trip, they're going to play well, I would imagine.
I think the NBA, Ben, is reaping what they've sowed by marketing other teams' players coming to town. I get why you would do that, but now that none of those star players ever come to town, it's a little bit of a ticklish thing.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think that whole ploy is a little overrated. However, in this market's current circumstance where we're just getting to know this sport and people who've been thirsting for this sport for a really long time are getting it back in their lives or whatever the case may be. If you're saying that you've got an opportunity to in person see the best of the best in your market for the first time ever, that's really something that actually I think sinks in. You know, that really sells. I mean, that's really cool. So again, I think it's often overrated. Like, oh, LeBron's going to be in town. LeBron hasn't played in Utah.
He's not going to be here on
since
Sunday.
Clinton
I'm
was
not
president.
betting on him playing on Sunday night.
Right. He hasn't played here in forever. He apparently doesn't like the nightlife here or something or whatever. I don't know. It's the Sunday Yada Gaines hangover.
Right.
15 years later.
Too many bad losses in Utah.
Whatever. He doesn't play here. So you can't get away with marketing that. In hockey where they play more. We've got some breaking news. Anyway, the Stars play more, and point being, it's your first time to go see them.
Yeah,
that's really, really cool. All right, Christian.
NHL players do play though. Like to your point, they suit up unless you're like the fourth string forward and you're in and out of the lineup, like a Liam O'Brien or a Carcone. Like we've seen Clayton Keller play every game so far. Yeah. They play.
All right, breaking news, Christian.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, guys. The Chicago Bears fired Matt Eberflus after the disaster that unfolded yesterday.
Okay, since we're talking about context, I actually generally like to treat human beings decently, and we talked about this already to start the show on Black Friday. I absolutely would have ruined that guy's Thanksgiving by firing him on Thanksgiving. I would have made him have the worst Thanksgiving dinner of his life knowing that he was out of a job. There is not a chance I would have let that man sleep last night knowing he had a job or thinking he had a job. That was the worst close to a football game I have ever seen.
Okay, I'm not going to, it certainly is up there, I suppose.
You overcome, what were they down, 21-3? Whatever it was big. They were drawing dead in the first half. Fingernails, Caleb Williams comes back. I thought plays quite well. It's the most momentum they've had at any point all season. I guess they started, 3-0? 4-0, whatever. They were pretty good as 4-2 to start the year and have just been atrocious since. But everyone saw the close. I don't need to repeat what happened to the close. You have a timeout. Use a timeout. It's mind-numbing. It's Mario Cristobal running the ball when they could have taken a knee for the victory formation leading to a loss. It's insane that coaches at this level can make that type of mistake, and he consistently makes these types of mistakes. You can't do it once. He's done it 3 times this year. And then he did it again last night when everybody watching knew, hey, man, clock's running. You're going to need a timeout here. Clock's running. Matt, the clock is running. You have to stop it. Caleb Williams is not going to stop it by himself. You have to stop the game. And then they just threw it and it was over. And he said, I liked what we did, actually.
I guess I agree with most of that. Intelligence is kind of the way. And I think this was a magical situation. And if indeed it was the worst end of game scenario of all time, I don't think it was simply the lack of intelligence of Eberflus. I think this was a melding of lack of intelligence. Then we could call it short-term or long-term or whatever. But you can't just take Caleb Williams. You can't take fingernails off the hook.
No.
I mean, he was as inept, if not more. But when the clock is ticking and he's like licking his fingers.
Yeah, the snap. Okay, so the first part.
It's like, what are you doing?
Because I rewatched it last night. I saw the highlights again after watching it live. And remember watching it and being like, man, he's taking a long time to snap this football.
He kind of hurries everybody up, and then he's like, all right, I got to be ready.
What I hadn't realized exactly right is he was waiting for his receiver to line up and get on sides and everything. He actually did have a reason initially to wait. But there was 12 seconds by the time everyone was lined up, which means as soon as he's lined up, you snap the ball, you have, 4 or 5 seconds? You throw if you throw a completion, great, you call a timeout. If you don't, the clock's not running, you bring your field goal kicker onto the field.
Listen, you know this, so they needed 10 to 13 seconds total. They snapped with 6. There was at least, I would argue there was 20 seconds in there that they could have had back. But if you want to get right down to it, there was an extra 4 seconds as he was licking his fingers.
But yeah, after everyone gets lined up,
the field,
then he does his little he reset his feet.
And by the way, you know what the situation is. Use urgency. Here's where I disagree with you a little bit, and people out there really nailing Eberflus, who by the way froze like a dang coward. I mean, it was just wild to see somebody's soul leave their body for a minute while they just stand there. But they didn't want to use the timeout there. They really didn't. They needed to run a play down the middle of the field to get their kicker back into we're going to make this mode.
Sure.
And if you call a timeout, then you have to throw it. You have to throw it at the what am I looking for? Out of bounds only. You only have the sidelines available to you
Go
because
to the boundary and
it
step
either
out.
has to be an incomplete pass or you have to get out of bounds. You need to run a play there so you can throw it up the seam.
Yeah.
And then call a timeout.
Right.
Or call a timeout early enough that you give your kicking team enough time to run on and kick it. If it were me, I would prefer to get your candy backsides to the dang line. We got to snap and run a play.
But you're right. They had 4 or 5 options, and they chose none of them.
They chose 0. Yeah. They chose
you had 4 options
nothing.
that would have worked. You could have done the quick pass to the boundary to get closer and stepped out of bounds and still had a timeout. You could have thrown across the middle of the field and used your timeout or had an incompletion. That's fine. You could have done any of those things. You could have rerun the draw play that they did the play before that, which was a mistake, and did Look a lot like how Caleb Williams lost games against Utah, which he was pretty bad late in games, fumbling the ball or just making weird mistakes, falling over himself. I have seen him do that.
I'd get back to the intelligence thing. Like, can you imagine, put Aaron Rodgers in the shoes of Caleb Williams there. And completely unfair, I know, because Aaron Rodgers is 55 and Caleb Williams is a rookie. And I'm more than willing to chalk this up to rookie mistake, in all honesty. But what would Aaron Rodgers have done? We can see the disgusted look on his face as he calls timeout.
Absolutely.
As he looks at the receiver and he looks at his coach who looks like a corpse on the sideline and just calls the timeout himself with a disgusted look on his face.
Side eyes him as he walks off the field.
Can't get it together enough to get off a dang play as he's upset. Or like you could see Peyton Manning doing the same thing. You could see any real experienced quarterback with a backbone when they see that their coach is suffering from a stroke, that they're going to have to do something. And he's licking his fingers.
He is. He was not perfect either, by no means.
Surveying the field.
No, he was.
Like it's the third quarter.
He was the second biggest culprit. No question about it.
You've been to an NFL game, or you know what I'm talking about. There's a big clock in the end zone.
You can see it.
That is giant.
And again,
and you can see it tick, and he's like, I better make sure I know where the safety is.
If you've played Madden, if you've played NCAA Football 25, you yourself have managed a clock, and you know what it takes. You know how to do it. It is inexcusable for anyone to not know how to manage a clock late in a football game. As you have said a million times, it's your one job as a coach.
It's the coach's one job. Did Caleb also, did Fingernails take the snap and zing it real quick? You know, did he see the clock and he's like, oh, give me this thing. I got to zing it real quick. He's like, all right. I'm going to step up. I'm going to look around.
Roll out.
I think I see a guy downfield. I can put a little more. I can put a little more air under it.
Where was the guy? Not in the end zone, which is the other option that we didn't address. Throw it to the boundary, throw it across the middle and call a timeout early. Or if this is the last play, you have to get to the end zone because you're down by 3 points.
Okay, I know we've got Mitch coming up, but I want this is the point. Maybe we get back to it later. Like, the Jazz, one of the obstacles the Jazz have to overcome to get the number one pick or to have the odds or whatever is the coach is a good coach who has to fight his instincts to win.
Right.
Who has to actually coach badly to accomplish that. The Bears don't have to have a good coach badly to lose games.
No.
They have
Matt Eberflus.
Right.
They have an idiot.
And a young quarterback that doesn't know what he's doing yet, if I'm being real fair, but that showed such a lack of intelligence. I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, that would really concern me if I saw my number one overall pick not know how to manage that situation. You've run 2-minute offenses your whole life.
Let alone the coach, who I'm not letting off the hook because I've never seen anything like that in my life.
But no, Caleb has to know better than that. He
absolutely.
He absolutely has to know better than that.
He has to get that play off lickety-split or call that timeout or something. But what he can't do
is nothing.
Is kind of show some urgency and then not really.
It was awful.
All right. Mitch is next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Watching Luke Batari play at the end of the game, watching Brandon Rose play like he did against BYU, is it fair to ask how in the world Isaac Wilson was QB2? Batari and Brandon Rose were better and more efficient in the reps they got than Isaac was as a backup quarterback this year. Those two guys have played better this year than Isaac Wilson did. Why was Isaac QB2? Why didn't they go to one of these guys earlier in the season?
I don't believe it. I don't believe that there's a conspiracy there that they were like...
I don't think it's conspiracy at all. I think they just chose Isaac as QB2, and that's how it was.
I think the reason they chose him,
it out.
Maybe he is a little bit of a spring and fall football warrior, like a fall camp guy. Maybe it was a Charlie Brewer situation. You're like, no, he looked like he won the job. Why would they have wanted to put Isaac Wilson in there prematurely if he wasn't ready?
I still believe in Isaac. I think he's great. I think there's a lot of talent there, but you can throw a kid out there too soon.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
No! Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to get the inside info on BYU with Cougar insider Mitch Harper of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's get out of the zone phone. He covers the Cougs for KSLSports.com. He jumps on with us on Fridays. He's the one and only Mitch Harper. Mitch, happy Thanksgiving. How are you?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Happy to be on with you again.
Looking at this game tomorrow, Mitch, I know the last 2 weeks, I think you've been appropriately and accurately cautionary about the types of or the potential for defeat for BYU. Where are you on this Houston game? I would imagine BYU riding a 2-game losing streak, welcoming a team on senior night that doesn't have a chance to go to a bowl game. This feels lopsided towards BYU.
I think this is going to be a little bit closer game than many would expect. Houston comes into this one, pretty. They're looking at this one as an opportunity to springboard them into 2025, and so pretty young roster. And, a lot of guys are going to be fighting to, earn their spot on the 105-man roster next year. So there is still something to maybe kind of go into the offseason a little bit. I think the thing is with Houston is that, they are not, as familiar with playing in the cold like this. And I think that could be a real difference here. But I think BYU is clearly the better football team. I just think that, Houston's got a much better defense than people give them credit for. And last week was an indication of that. I mean, Baylor was flying high, excellent offensively, one of the best offenses in college football over the past 6 weeks. And they held Baylor to 20 points. And, they had 3 interceptions of their own, and that probably could have been a different football game. So Houston's the type of team that can keep it low scoring. And, that's something that where BYU fans would think, how is this happening? BYU is the 2-touchdown favorite, and they're in a low-scoring game against Houston, but that could be here. I mean, what the score was last week where it was 20-10 Baylor, I could absolutely see that being the score. And does that make people feel good about it? I think it should, just because any win against a Big 12 foe is a good thing, and also you get the chance to get your 10th win. That'd be a nice victory. So I just think Houston's going to have a little more fight than we would probably expect. And I think but BYU, I believe, is the better football team. They just got to compete for and play at a high level for a complete 60 minutes, which they haven't done in about, it's been about a month and a half now.
So all of that is true, Mitch, and I agree with all of that. And I know getting to the end zone consistently has been an issue for a few weeks now and all the things. But, man, Houston's offense is so bad. BYU's they're going to have to get to like 17 to win this thing. You know what I mean? Like they got that in them for sure, I got to guess.
Oh, yeah, and BYU can, they could put up 30 in this one. They could.
Right.
But I just think that I haven't seen enough consistently from BYU to believe that they're just going to show up and just dominate this team. I just think that what you saw against Kansas, and look, Kansas might be the best team in the league right now, honestly, with the way that they've been playing the past month. I just think that it wouldn't shock me if BYU's offense had some struggles. And you look at the offensive line, Braden Keim, his absence has been significant at that right tackle spot. I think the offensive line has regressed this month, and they're going to probably be without Austin Leausa, starting right guard tomorrow. He was left the Arizona State game on crutches. They feel confident in Bruce Mitchell or Sonny Mocassini, whichever direction they go at that right guard spot. But still, you're losing some starters along that offensive line who really kind of struggled last week against Arizona State. And if they can provide the necessary time to, give Jake Retzloff the time to operate, I think BYU can put up some points. But, Houston is nearly a top 25 total defense squad. They've got some good personnel, and I just think that I have a lot of respect, too, I think, for Willie Fritz, their head coach. I think he's going to be a really good coach at Houston. He seems like he's going to be someone that's there for the long haul, and I think he's building that program right, and they're going to be tough physically. I could see this being a little bit of a game where people on the outside just look at it being, BYU's just going to coast, and it just could be a little bit tighter than you'd think. And that's a credit to, I think, Houston's defense, because I've watched them a handful of times this year, and they shut down Kansas State. They've shut down some really good offenses in this league, and they made it difficult. And I just thought, that, again, that performance against Baylor was pretty impressive. And they had a little bit more on the line, of course, with the bowl and things like that. But I just think it would be a nice statement by BYU if they could just roll in to Provo tomorrow night and blow out this team, because I think that would be a sign that what you saw offensively in the second half against Arizona State, carried over. And maybe it was a real difference for BYU to close out this season strong, because the offense since about the second half against UCF has been less than, they have not been operating at a high level. And it's been much to be desired from that group in many areas. So it would be a nice statement to close out the regular season with a dominant victory.
With that said, the game only matters if they get some help earlier in the day, with Arizona State losing to either Arizona or Iowa State losing to Kansas State. What do you make of those games, and which one do you have circled most closely?
I look at Kansas State being the one to knock off Iowa State, being the one that could possibly be the one that breaks for BYU and gives BYU a path to the Big 12 title. I think the Arizona State-Arizona game is interesting because, the cliche rivalry stuff, but I think Arizona's pretty bad. Arizona, they would erase a lot of the struggles that they've experienced in year one under Brent Brennan if they could pull off the upset and spoil Arizona State's season, but I just don't see that happening. But I do believe Kansas State could take down Iowa State, and Iowa State looking for their first ever 10-win regular season. They've never achieved that in their history of their program. Pressure spot for them to perform, and I think Kansas State could be up for the task to knock them off. They changed some of their OC, moved him from the press box to the field level. He's their former offensive line coach, and they felt that was kind of a difference in getting the most out of their offensive line, kind of looking like the K-State O-lines of the past. So I'm going to go with K-State to pull off the upset in Ames and give BYU that path to get to the Arlington.
No chance Big 12 gets two teams in the playoff, right?
Yeah, no, I don't. I just don't see it. I mean, the committee is telling us every week how they pretty much view this league, and they basically view it on par with a Group of 5 league. And then last night you see Tulane lay an egg against Memphis, and how Tulane was ranked above BYU and really within striking distance of Arizona State. It's crazy. And the thing is that you hate to just discredit a Group of 5 team, because BYU fans heard that for so many years, like, who you played. There's good talent everywhere in college football, but you look at Tulane's strength of schedule, at least in the non-conference, the two power conference teams they played, they lost to, and one of them included Kansas State. That just didn't make any sense. A 2-loss Group of 5 team being right there with the power conference potential champ from the Big 12 was surprising. But no, I don't see a path for 2. I don't, because this committee has really made it clear consistently that the Big 12 they view as at best the 4th best league in college football, maybe 5th if you want to get into the Mountain West potentially, the way they view Boise State. So I think it's going to be the Big 12 champ, and that's it.
Do they get a bye?
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will get a bye because Boise State's playing right now against Oregon State, and last I checked, they were up on the Beavers like 7-0. But I think that they're going to get a bye, because what's going to help them, and we've seen this in the past, even Utah experienced this when they were in the Pac-12 with the playoff. When you get to that Pac-12 championship game and you play a nationally ranked team, because every week they tear down the rankings. They tear it down, at least they claim to, and then they build it back up. And that a top 25 win can really catapult a team. I believe that they'll be able to springboard into that first round bye territory. The thing is, though, is that it's going to come down to if UNLV stays ranked and Boise State then could get a top 25 data point. And we know that the committee loves Boise State's quality loss against Oregon, the number 1 team in the country. And then they got the star power with Ashton Genty, with the Heisman Trophy candidacy from him. But I really think that the Big 12 champ's gonna catapult, particularly Arizona State. I think they're the one that's got to be the one to do that if they get that first round bye. If it's BYU, no, I don't see that happening. Maybe if it was Iowa State, potentially, maybe them. But ASU, if they take care of business against Arizona and then beat an Iowa State or a BYU, I would believe that they'd springboard over Boise State, at least be right there. So I think they would get that 4th spot.
Mitch, enjoy the game tomorrow. Look forward to all of your coverage.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Mitch.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Happy holidays.
Mitch Harper, KSLSports.com. How much of the meal do you think Mitch prepared yesterday? We should ask him.
Oh, Mitch is a fine cook.
Is he?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. I don't think he's, Hans and Scotty. I don't think he's out there sitting outside of his smoker starting at 6 p.m. on Wednesday night to get ready for Thursday morning. But I think Mitch probably partook a little bit. You'll see Mitch getting his hands dirty.
Okay. Because I have him and Hatch, for some reason, pegged in the same category of, like, that groove in the couch isn't, manicuring itself.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Not getting up to help.
A lot of football on. Not necessarily not helpful. Maybe set the table or something or other, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They're not up early.
Tending to the turkey, getting everything together, all that sort of thing. I
see that.
I have them in that category.
I could see that.
Not that I wasn't yesterday, by the way.
I wasn't allowed to help. I don't know what happened. I ended up cutting the ends off the green beans, and that was the only job I was able to do.
That's hard labor.
I think I can do more. It was monotonous. It was slow.
Well, yeah, you can't do anything that involves skill.
I thought I could, but I got a vote of no confidence.
They're not putting you in charge of the potatoes.
The owner of the house.
Gravy, That's not happening.
All right. I'll do this.
Is that disappointing to you?
Yeah. I just think more highly of myself than manual labor in the kitchen.
Why?
Because I cooked before. I thought this was a partnership, and it was not. Yesterday was not a partnership. I was in support purely.
Whenever I tackle something, the fear of screwing it up is...
Oh, no. See, I have some confidence in my ability to cook, but I'm the only one in the house who apparently has that confidence in my ability
for a reason,
to do something
probably.
right. I think I do a good job, but I guess I don't.
What do your kids think?
Kids will eat 3 things. Yeah, as long as I make the taquitos right, I told you, they're fine.
Well, see, therein lies the problem.
We weren't having Thanksgiving taquitos.
Right. No, I'm skilled with the air fryer too, my friend, but it doesn't make me... qualified to do really anything.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Joined now by Darius Lassiter, BYU wide receiver. What do you say to your teammates now, getting ready for this final game?
Just got to make sure everybody is still bought in, still locked in, because it's still an opportunity for us to go out there and still reach the Big 12 championship if things fall in our favor. So whether it does or not, we still got to go out there this last game, especially for the seniors. Last home game of the season, got to go out with a big win. If you let those things just linger, it's just going to affect how you operate throughout the week. Losses hurt, but you only get that short amount of time to feel sorry for yourself, and then ultimately you got to turn around because you got another important game this week.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, this segment brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free and home estimate, 801-566-1255. Also, Win Ticket Wednesday, your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. Listen all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. By the way, shout out to my wonderful daughters, Sadie and Maggie, who are listening. They're out and about with Mom.
Hey, ladies.
I got this series of texts during the break.
Okay.
The girls think you're a good cook. They say, especially on the grill. Sadie says you should stay away from the gravy. And then Mom adds, I disagree because I thought your gravy last year was great. And then finally, Sadie said she was just kidding about the gravy. I love that because she knows, like, she just really hurt Dad's feelings.
You were very proud about making the gravy.
I was,
We talked a lot about gravy.
For my kid to be like, you should not do that again. Yeah, that would hurt my feelings. So thank you, sweetheart, for saying that you were just kidding. That's very nice of you.
Am I wrong that the gravy has the widest range of okayness on the plate? Like,
no,
I think you can get store-bought gravy, you can do the powdered stuff, or you can spend a lot of time and the difference isn't going to be that high.
Oh, I don't think I agree with that.
You think there's like a real spectrum of quality and poor gravy?
Listen, I don't dislike the powder stuff. Just like I don't dislike instant mashed potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll eat them. They're fine. But do I know the difference between homemade mashed potatoes and instant mashed potatoes?
You can taste it.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you can. The consistency is different.
Now, I'm not the type of guy who's going to, send the gravy back and be like, come on now.
This isn't homemade.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat and enjoy. But that doesn't mean that I don't notice.
Food was okay yesterday, though?
Oh, great.
Any stars of the plate?
My mom does a really good job. Her gravy is great. The turkey was...
Turkey.
But really good. Like
it was turkey.
Yeah. Turkey... turkey's still good, but, if it's dry, it's not as good.
It's not good.
And
it's usually dry.
Ours was not. So, yeah, no,
Okay.
it was all, she does an apple pie. That is my favorite.
Oh, Christian, star of the plate last night? You guys hosted.
I hosted, not to brag, I made some pretty killer mac and cheese. It's hard to do. My
right.
wife has celiac disease.
Mac and cheese.
So it's hard to make good gluten-free mac and cheese.
No breadcrumbs on the top or anything?
Right, yeah. And then the noodles, like baking it, sometimes they fall apart. So you have to find a noodle that doesn't fall apart when you bake it. But I did good.
Well done.
Not the Kraft box.
No, but I had some just in case.
Ready to roll?
I had some ready.
That's just smart. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
That's just...
got to have car insurance.
Yeah, that's just smart is what that is. Ready to roll. You can fix that stuff up in a heartbeat, too. Like if your mac and cheese casserole or whatever is going south, you're like, I got Kraft right here. I'm good. So you can take chances that way. It's like playing defense with Rudy Gobert behind you.
Right. Yeah, you can gamble for some steals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can take a big swing at the mac and cheese because you got Kraft right there on deck. And everybody likes it. Speaking of my two daughters, they're currently, right now, bothering my wife about having that for lunch.
You know what?
I guarantee.
You know what sounds good? I don't know why. A little mac and cheese.
Little mac and cheese.
It in their ear.
Yeah, right. I'm doing exactly that. That's happening. All right, Steve Bartle's coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hockey fans, let your voice be heard this season with the Utah Hockey Fan Forum. Visit the Utah Hockey Club page on KSLSports.com to connect with the team, other fans, and our KSL Sports insiders. Start chatting today in the Utah Hockey Fan Forum on KSLSports.com.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben, Anderson. Want to remind you to join Hanson, Scotty G at the El Matador Restaurant, 606 South Main in Bountiful, coming up next Tuesday from noon to 3. El Matador, a Utah Mexican food staple for over 50 years. Speaking of things that always sound good, Ben, Mexican food always sounds good.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Steve Bartle.
No, I wouldn't say that about Steve. You might have a cold and not sound good.
Okay, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it happens to the best of us.
Sure.
It's not a big deal. Out of the zone phone we go. He covers the Utes for KSLSports.com. He does a terrific job at that. He is our buddy Steve Bartle. What's up, Bartle?
Just looking at some Mexican food menus right now.
Yeah, buddy. It sounds good.
What's your go-to?
What is it there in Sandy? Right there off of 106. Why am I blanking on the name? Because we eat there. Los Cucos. That's the go-to, man.
Okay.
I like Guadalajara's, which is just an exit south
Ooh.
of that. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm a real taqueria guy.
The adjacent bar called Donkey Tails, which I always thought was pretty aptly named.
All right. You can't get good Mexican food in Florida. It's crazy.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, you can't get anything good Mexican food east of Texas, probably. Yeah. Yeah. But everything's good west. Anyways, all right. Neither here nor there. Can the Utes play well east of Texas? Are the Utes going to show up in Central?
I love it. You had to think
Florida?
About that. You're like,
I am. I'm trying to mix up my directions. Is Utah going to show up today? I mean, I think this game And this opponent is such a step down compared to the last 3 weeks where Utah, I think, has played admirably. I know they got blown out by Colorado, but I thought they came in with an intent to win. I think they can beat Central Florida.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, right? Because Utah hasn't been in this sort of situation in a really, really long time. And so it's kind of unique in that sense. A lot of players haven't been through this sort of thing. And so, with the matchup with UCF, they've had a rough season of their own. Both teams are 4-7 coming into this one. UCF didn't have the same sort of expectations that Utah did, but they still were kind of viewed as a dark horse candidate in the Big 12 with, the way that Gus Malzahn utilized the portal to bolster their roster. And yet here we are, both teams 4-7 and both teams probably can't wait for the season to be over. So it'll be interesting tonight with this contest. UCF, they play the sort of game that, typically it's strength on strength where, their running game versus Utah's run defense. If, in years past, you feel pretty good about Utah's chances to and how they match up. But, this season has been a difficult one for the Utah defense. They've had a lot put on them because the offense has just struggled so much. And so they've had to play really great defense, and they haven't been able to get, the stops that they need to. And that's been difficult. And a big part of that is, there's been, big run plays, here and there against a lot of these opponents that have just sort of broken the defense's back, and that's tough. So, on paper, this is going to be a really, really tough one, and just kind of given the fact that this is on the road for Utah, it's coming off a holiday, and it's just sort of a weird game. This is going to be a really, really tough one, and players are going to have to dig deep. And frankly, I wouldn't blame them if they're just ready to punt on the season and move into the off season.
There's kind of a morbid practice in media where you write the obituary of somebody who hasn't passed yet because you just have her ready to go because it's really important once the moment happens. Ben loves it. I mean, he just loves writing obituaries. I'm curious, do you have the Kyle Whittingham retirement piece in the can, and what are the odds you have to publish that this weekend?
Yeah, it'll be obviously we know that Kyle Whittingham is going to take his time and evaluate his future. And, I thought his press conference on Monday was pretty telling, with where he's at. And, I thought it was even more telling. What he said was, I'm going to do what's best for the program, not me. And I think that was something that probably, caught a lot of people's attention because the belief has been, that with the way that this season has gone, Kyle Whittingham doesn't want to end his career on this sort of note. But, just again, with the way that this season has gone and with the way that college football and college athletics in general has evolved with, the transfer portal and NIL, there's just so much on a head coach's plate that I think it makes it more difficult for a Kyle Whittingham who has to dig deep probably to coach another year, just given all of that which comes with it, in a head coaching role nowadays. So, yeah, I think, there's a decent chance that this will be it for Kyle. And, he's going to go out on his terms. He's going to make the decision on his time. And, with what he's done for the program, regardless of what he decides to do, I genuinely believe him that he's going to do what's best for the program. And if that means another year, there are probably good reasons that he feels that way. And if not, if he feels it's time to move on, you understand that as well. So, yeah, I think we're definitely to that point where, I probably need to have an article prepared and ready to go just in case, because, as he said on Monday, he's going to take the time to evaluate things thoroughly. And honestly, I think.
I don't think it should, but does the early signing period happening, was it a week from now, less than a week from now, does that influence how quickly he needs to make this decision?
No, not at all. Because they have a plan in place with the head coach and waiting with Morgan Scalley. And, that's been communicated to their current commits. And so there's no real concern with that. Obviously, though, with recruiting the transfer portal, which opens up a couple weeks later, you probably want to have a decision made by then because, that could impact things more so there than with their class, their recruiting class, because that's been communicated very clearly to them what's going to happen, and they probably have a good idea of where things are really at and that sort of stuff. So no real concern for signing day next week, but I do think there's probably a chance that there's probably could be an impact in terms of what it means for their ability to recruit in the transfer portal. So I do think, again, Kyle Whittingham's going to take his time with the decision, and he deserves that time, but he probably needs to have a decision made, around the time the transfer portal opens up, which, again, I think happens in a couple weeks.
What's the offense going to look like today with the Ferrari Luke Batari at the helm?
Yeah, it'll be it'll be interesting. I think Batari showed he's got some legs, he's got some wheels. He can run a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Utah utilize the option more. That fits him well, and that could benefit the running game. And Mekhi Bernard, who I think he's 78 yards short of breaking the 1,000-yard mark, and I think that'll be a focus for Utah this game is getting Mekhi to that 1,000 yards. So, I think we'll see, some option, and I think that'll be good for the running game to help open things up a little bit. So, that'll be something with Batari. Obviously, you understand that, he's not your typical D1 level type quarterback. He came from the JUCO ranks. He's a good passer, but his arm strength, is probably average. So you're going to see a lot of work in the underneath, and you'll probably see a couple shots, deep and that sort of stuff. But I think the key for Batari is, utilizing his athleticism, his willingness to run, and allowing that to open up the run game, and then just being efficient with the ball in his hands and making good passes. You saw it last week. He came in and he took the easy completions underneath on the crossing routes, and he allowed his guys to make plays after the catch. And I think that'll be another big factor with the offense tonight as well. What
do you make of Isaac Wilson's injury, his future at Utah? Do we have any idea what to expect there?
Yeah, luckily it's not super significant. I think the concern was that it was going to be, a pretty serious injury. It sounds like it happened on the roll, after the initial contact on the play. And, the worry was that it was, a significant knee injury, but it sounds like they avoided that. And, the belief is now that he'll be ready for things come January when they begin their winter workouts. He'll be able to hit the ground running there and be good to go for spring ball. So, just based on what I've heard, it sounds like he's avoided anything super serious, which is good. He just needs, 4 to 6 weeks to recover, to get right, and then he'll hit the ground running in January, I think.
And the expectations is he'll be back at Utah?
Yeah, I mean, that's the belief right now. Obviously there's a lot of talk that, with the way the season has gone and a lot of the frustration, there's still a belief that Isaac will be back and that sort of thing. And I think the offensive coordinator position and that hire could play a significant role in that. You wouldn't, and it should, right? You want to, when you bring in a talent like Isaac, and he's still a talent, obviously things didn't go, according to plan for him this season. The hope was that he'd be able to get time here and there sporadically throughout the season, and that didn't happen. And so it put him in a much more difficult spot and situation. And I think, that's tough for him. He had to step into a leadership role that he probably wasn't fully prepared for, given the expectations of this team and the veteran status of guys at other positions. It's hard to come into a situation like that when you're not fully prepared for it. So, I think there is still a level of expectation that he's going to be back next year. But again, you never know with the quarterback situation in college football. Things can change on a whim and all that. But I think there is that belief he'll be back. And with the OC, that can really help Utah's chances in keeping him in the fold.
Do we have any idea who that's going to be? You hearing anything?
Yeah, so wrote the article on the offensive coordinator candidates. And Utah's going to, Morgan Scalley's going to have a big voice in all of this, in my opinion. And I think that's the right way to go about it, just given kind of, his role in the future of the program. And so with the offensive coordinator position, a name that I've heard a lot of is Ben Arbuckle from Washington State. He's a hot name, in for a number of programs, Oklahoma and others as well. But I hear there's just a lot of confidence and optimism around Utah's chances with Ben Arbuckle. And then there's other guys. Mac Leftwich out of Texas State is another name. And then, he's led an offense there at Texas State the last couple seasons that's put up really good numbers. They've been, really competitive with a lot of Power 5 teams. I think it was them in Arizona State earlier this year that went toe-to-toe, and so you got a couple candidates there. And then another name, A.J. Milwee from Texas. He's the quarterback's coach, and obviously being there under Steve Sarkisian, he's not calling plays, but he has coordinator experience at Akron from a while back. He's recruited that quarterback position really well there. And so, if you can bring in somebody like Milwee, you potentially have an opportunity to bring in a quarterback. I'm not suggesting Arch Manning is going to follow him. That's not what I'm saying here. That is, although that would be ideal, but you have an opportunity there with a guy that's been at Texas for a few years. He has a pretty good reputation on the recruiting trail, and he has that background. And so that could be another option for Utah as well. Those are really the big three that I've heard so far. But there are a number of other candidates. Another guy that I think could be, kind of a sneaky good candidate is Jimmy Doherty up at Washington. Again, similar to A.J. Milwee, he's not currently calling plays, but he has play caller experience. He's been the quarterback's coach up there at Washington. He was the quarterback's coach at Arizona, played a big role in recruiting Noah Fafita and Teteroa McMillan to Arizona. And so you like that. And he has a great reputation as a recruiter as well from his time at Arizona and UCLA. And that could be another option for Utah as well. So those are the four names that I've heard a lot about. But we'll see what happens. I think Utah is pretty determined to get somebody in place, or at least an idea of somebody in place before signing period, before next week. So things are going to happen pretty quickly here over the next few days.
Bartle, Ben and I were talking about how much participation we had in the preparation of the Thanksgiving meal and what our roles are in that. I'm curious, are you active in the preparation of the meal, or are you cultivating the groove on the couch?
No, I'm all about developing the good vibes on Thanksgiving. I am not not the food. I'm all about the vibes.
All right.
Keep me away from the food, but I will certainly help
culture guy.
the vibes.
You're a culture guy.
Big culture guy. Yes, big culture guy.
It's important. It's important. I agree. Yeah, big deal.
Is.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Enjoy the game tonight. We appreciate your work.
Yep, appreciate you, fellas. Have a good one.
Thanks, Steve.
See you, buddy. Steve Bartle covers the Utes for KSLSports.com.
I Googled Ben Arbuckle, and Steve made a huge mistake because that person was born in 1995, which means they're still in high school, so that person's not qualified for the job.
Okay.
I mean, he's 29. It's crazy. But that's where Utah's looking, And if you're going to get a younger, I don't want to say hot shot. That always seems so dismissive. But a younger name, I mean, yeah. And that would make more sense with a Morgan Scalley going forward of somebody you would invest in to build with long term.
I just am looking forward to having a new name to be the face of the blame for the shortcomings of the program.
What did you do wrong, man? Why did you do that? Why did you do all those things that you did?
Man, if you were better at your job, Utes would have been undefeated. I mean, that's the storyline.
When it doesn't go well, that's the storyline.
That's the storyline. And again, getting back to the point, it's intentional. But it's also the reason if I were a young, upcoming coach, I wouldn't take that job. But when you're 29...
and someone offers you $1.5 million or whatever...
yeah, you're probably going to do it.
I would take that job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cash in while you can. The money is not always going to be there for you.
But it's hard to rehab your career at 32.
Right. I need my second stint. Yeah.
Got to go back to being a tight ends coach or something.
Right.
You got to build this thing back up again.
But at least you have a nice house.
I suppose so. And Brian Johnson did it. Why not somebody else?
Yeah. Well, if it's going to move quick, I mean, we'll have some news next week, sounds like.
I would guess all this stuff has got to move quick. Witt's decision
I
has
would
to
think
move
so,
quick.
too. I wouldn't even be surprised if Witt calls a press conference on Monday. I'm not betting on that, but if it happened, nobody would be stunned.
Listen, Utah State has to make a quick decision.
Yeah, they will. That'll be easy.
They will or won't?
They will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've had so long to do it. It would actually be inexcusable if they dragged their feet on this one.
And they're going to have a lot of good options. I'm excited to hear who it is. There's going to be a lot of familiar names in the running for that.
Yeah, but does Sabo go outside the box? Yeah, they're kicking off against Colorado State at 1:30.
She's already been outside the box. She got the team into the Pac-12. Now it's time to go safe.
No. Like, she hired this coach from Youngstown for basketball who's coming in, and Calhoun who's coming in and doing a good job.
Don't.
That's what ADs do, though.
It is. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room right now. Give Jay Hill the job. If Jay Hill doesn't take it, give Bronco Mendenhall the job. Like, there are just names that are available and around that have won in Utah at a very high level. Do that. Just don't. You don't need to be creative. You don't need to be crazy here. You've got good candidates that know the area and can win here.
Hire Ryan Day's nephew.
No. Just Bronco. Jay Hill 1, Bronco 2. That's the length of my list.
You know what those two have in common? Not from Ohio.
Not from Ohio. No Ohio ties between.
Yeah, so I don't think that's happening.
Either of them.
I think you've got to be from Bowling Green at least.
I don't want it. I want one of my two guys, and I get it that like Bronco brings a whole bunch. I don't want to say baggage, but Bronco is strange. Yeah, but.
No, I think you need to know how to win in Logan, but that didn't stop Utah State from hiring a bunch of outsiders for a long time. I don't think it's a guarantee that they hire some local guy. I really don't.
No, I probably isn't, but you've got the difference is those are two very good candidates. Those are really strong candidates that I don't think you need to overthink.
Who's to say the Bowling Green guy isn't?
Yeah, maybe he is. But he doesn't
know. By the way, I have
area.
no idea what I'm talking about.
Right,
I just picked an Ohio university.
The last Bowling Green guy who came here did good.
He did do well. Yeah, that's true.
And ended up with Ohio ties or further on down the road. I mean, I know Bowling Green is there, but yeah, circled back.
Matt Murschel is going to join us coming up next.
Not from Bowling Green.
He covers UCF for the Orlando Sentinel. We'll ask him what he expects from today's matchup with the Utes. That's coming up straight ahead. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bang!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, we did. We did a rap song.
It's cool. We're talking about Jake's band, who, closes the show with...
Yeah, our last bumper.
Two Amigos on the airwaves or whatever it is.
Yeah, talking sports.
What's our island?
The reggae hit. I don't know. Island Living or whatever it is.
Called.
Yeah. We did.
I forgot you guys delved into the world of rap.
We did.
For a minute.
A little tune called Oh Man, I Had a Rough Morning.
I'm telling you, if there was ever a day to play it.
Oh, it's totally today. I sent it to Christian. We can play it. You want to play it later in the show?
Sure.
Pretty incredible.
Really good stuff.
Well, I was inspired by a great moment in sports history.
You guys are diverse.
Yeah, we do everything, dude.
Yeah.
I told you, we do it all.
Without Boundaries. That should be your band name, Without Boundaries.
Without Boundaries. That's great. That's really good.
You guys will go anywhere. Say anything. Sing about anything.
Any style.
Any style.
Yeah, you bet. We can do it all. All right. Well, a little tease. We'll play that later in the show.
Okay.
It's great. You're going to love it. But it's time to talk Little Utes taking on UCF tonight in Orlando. Joining the show now covers UCF for the Orlando Sentinel. Matt Murschel with us on Jake and Ben. Matt, thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're doing well. Utah playing for nothing. Same with Central Florida. So what do you make of this game? I mean, these were two teams that, Utah certainly thought they were going to be at the top of the Big 12, and there was conversations before the season started that Central Florida was a dark horse to maybe make the Big 12 title game, and there is one win between the two of them over the last 7 weeks. It's just been absolutely atrocious football. So what's on the line for Central Florida today?
Well, I think what's on the line for them is to try to finish strong and to try to win a game for the seniors. Gus Malzahn has talked about that this week in his press conference on Monday. He really wouldn't focus on anything else besides that. They want to win this game for the seniors, for guys like R.J. Harvey and Kobe Hudson and guys who have been really big parts of what UCF has been trying to do over the last couple of years. He feels like this is their opportunity to send the players out on a high note, maybe to try to build a little bit of momentum and going into next season. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen in the offseason. There's been a lot of speculation about Gus Malzahn's status with the team. And, so I think they'd like to finish strong, finish in front of a home crowd, and, just kind of put this year behind them and, take the film out back and bury it and let's forget about it for the season as much as they can. But it's definitely not been the kind of anticipation I think we saw when this game was announced, before the beginning of the season, that, this was going to be one of those 8 o'clock games on Fox.
Take us through a little bit the transfer or the kind of the transfers this year. I know a lot of players have just decided to go elsewhere mid-year, which is more common now, of course, than it used to be. But take us through that story a little bit.
Yeah, mid-year transfers, they had 7 guys who opted to redshirt and then with the intent to go in the transfer portal. They had a few starters. Xavier Townsend was a starting slot receiver for them. He was also kind of their main kickoff returner. He decided to go in the portal. Their kicker, Colton Boomer, had been kind of banged up and hurt. He decided to go in the portal as well. That kind of forced them to go with a backup, Grant Reddick, who came out there as well. And then really the rest of the guys were guys that, were backups, guys who weren't really maybe getting a lot of snaps to begin with. Wes Dorsey was an offensive lineman who really didn't see the field much except on special teams, and so he went in the portal as well. He was an off-season transfer to begin with, so his time at UCF was really thin. And then they had a guy like Kevin Call, who was a defensive end, who really didn't do much except on special teams, and decided to make a move and also transfer. So it's not as big as I think it sounds, as you mentioned. I think this is something that teams are dealing with, over and over again. But when you're struggling and when you're losing games and you're in the middle of starting to be in the middle of a 5-game losing streak, those kind of things will definitely become highlights and people want to talk about of what's going on with the program and why things have kind of gone the way they have.
It's probably too oversimplified to say Utah's season fell apart when Cam Rising got hurt, but really there was a very clear before and after. What happened in Central Florida that went from dark horse championship team to where they are today?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the quarterback situation. They before the season started, they had brought in KJ Jefferson, former Arkansas quarterback, and expected him to be the starter. And he was going to bring, felt like he could fit in well what Gus Malzahn's offense was going to do. But KJ never really looked comfortable in the offense. He struggled throwing the football. They had trouble kind of, on some of the run plays they had designed for him. He never really looked 100% like the KJ Jefferson that everyone expected to see when he stepped on the field, at Arkansas. So when, about 4 or 5 games into the season, Gus Malzahn made a decision to make a switch at quarterback, which wasn't a very easy decision because, again, in today's day and age with name, image, and likeness, you pay money to bring a player in with an NIL deal. You want to believe to get your money's worth, and he wasn't working out. So they made the switch. They made the weird decision to start E.J. Colson, who was a true freshman. He played about 6 or 7 snaps And then they replaced him with another transfer in Javarius Brown, Ja'Cory Brown, who came in from Miami as a transfer as well. And, Ja'Cory really struggled through a few games. And then all of a sudden, Gus went with quarterback number 4, the fourth stringer, who was Dylan Risk. And Dylan Risk has actually been the best quarterback they've had this season. He's thrown the ball a lot better. He looks more comfortable in the offense. This also kind of coincides with Gus Malzahn giving up the play calling duties to offensive coordinator Tim Harris. And the offense has looked a lot better. It's moved the ball around a little bit more. But when you don't have consistency in the quarterback position, and you guys know this, obviously, talking about what happened with Cam Rising, when you don't have that consistency at the quarterback position, it's awful hard sometimes to get the offense going, and things just kind of snowballed from there. And they had issues with other transfer players who never really kind of fit the potential they were expecting. So that and some coaching moves, with Ted Ruff being fired, their defensive coordinator, it really kind of snowballed into really what is a disastrous season for them.
So for several years now, obviously making the transition into the Big 12 plays a big part of this. But I've heard a lot of people, informed college football people say UCF is a bit of a sleeping giant with its location, obviously, in Florida. And it has a huge enrollment, alumni base, all the things. Do you believe that's that to be the case? I mean, do they just need to find, the right recipe to really unlock the potential?
Yeah, I do still think that they have they are a sleeping giant. I mean, I think if you think about where they've gone in the last decade, people didn't know what UCF was really, or where UCF was. They get into a New Year's Six game. They beat Auburn. In 2017 they go undefeated. They become in the college football playoff discussion, even on the peripheral. And I think all of a sudden you started to see this program for a couple of years really start to draw a little attention. They make the push. They get into the Big 12. I think what's going to help them a little bit more in the future is, the first couple of years they weren't getting full media rights money, full revenue money. So they'll start to get that starting this next year. So that's going to help them. They felt like they were behind the 8 ball, so to speak, when it came to facilities and your athletic budget. Their NIL has really tried to kind of get itself back into position to be able to contend at a Power 4 level. It wasn't there when they went into the Big 12, obviously. They're still doing American Athletic Conference, money. And so I think eventually when things start to even themselves out and the money starts coming in and they could start to see some of the NIL issues that are going on. Now we'll wait and see what happens with the House settlement situation, but they feel like they're in a pretty good spot. And once this stuff starts happening, they feel like they have an opportunity to get some players in that will help them win. I think the first couple of years were a lot harder than people anticipated, moving into a power conference. And I think that's what you're seeing over the first 2 years here in the Big 12.
Well, we're up to our eyes in tiebreaker scenarios trying to figure out what BYU has to do to get in tomorrow. They need to win. They need Arizona State to lose or Iowa State to lose. Who do you think ends up playing in the Big 12 title game?
Of all the teams, I've liked BYU the most. Since I've seen them play, against Ball State, against UCF. I think they have an opportunity to make that push. This tiebreaker scenario is insane. I'm watching the Colorado game right now, and I'm just trying to figure out where everyone's going to be at, starting tomorrow. But that's been the Big 12 to a T, hasn't it? I mean, this has been a league of parity, and I think Commissioner Brett Yormark talked about that at the beginning of the year when in Las Vegas, during the football media days, that he felt like this conference was going to feature a lot of parity, and they've seen that so far. And I think that's good for the league. As much as, yes, it's great you have all these teams that people thought were going to win, to have 4 or 5 teams that are in it to the very last weekend, I think that's something that's outstanding. Now, I'm sure Brett would love to have seen these teams finish a little higher up. When you look at the college football playoff and the 12-team rankings, I think he's got to be a little bit concerned on where a Big 12 team lands. So that he would probably like to see better. But I mean, again, I think when you look at these teams, I think it's been an amazing season for a lot of these programs, and to finish the way they are, you just hope it doesn't get to a point where you have to go through, like you mentioned, like a 5, 6, 7, 8 step tiebreaker thing to get your final team in the championship game.
As long as you're watching the Colorado game and we're asking you random college football questions, who would your Heisman be? The 2 top contenders are currently playing. Who would you vote for?
Yeah, I'm a Heisman voter, so I'm going to keep that kind of a little bit to myself.
Fair enough.
So, but I think what you're seeing are 2 guys who are going to be finalists for sure. I think you're going to see a guy like Travis Hunter. I think you're going to see a guy in Ashton Jerry, he's going to be a guy Gentry's going to get as well. And you may see, another player here or there find their way in there. I've seen both those guys. I saw the Boise State player last year, a very talented player. And Travis Hunter's a very talented player. Now, Shadur Sanders, I know his name's been mentioned a little bit as well. I think Travis has got a better opportunity there as well. But it's going to be interesting to see where these players end up finishing, because you look at the rest of the country, and normally that's an award that's been given to quarterbacks. And so you're going to have to see who else is going to be out there that can make a big push as well. So it's going to be a busy week, and I'm sure over the next couple of weeks, they want to see how teams perform. I know I'm a person, when I vote in these, I like to wait till after the conference championships. Like, I vote basically when it's due, because I like to make sure I got the full sample size and don't vote early.
Awesome. Well, good luck on making that vote. That's pretty sweet. We appreciate you coming on, Matt. Thank you very much, and enjoy the game tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Take care and have fun.
Thank you. That's Matt Murschel. He covers UCF for the Orlando Sentinel.
Because neither you or I have a Heisman vote, I don't think either of us have watched Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty the way a voter ought to, which is game in and game out and checking in. But do you have a direction you'd lean?
Jeanty.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Even though, what Travis Hunter's doing is awesome. He is the best corner in college football. That comes with some vulnerability because you are going to get burned. He got burned by Utah even. He got burned last year in the Stanford game, but I'm not voting on what happened last year. I'm voting on what happened this year. What he's doing is awesome. He's one of the coolest college football players of our lifetime because of his ability to play both ways and be dominant both ways. But, yeah, Jeanty's having a top 5 ever running back season.
And Travis Hunter actually has an interception today.
He does, and a touchdown.
Did he catch a touchdown too? The weird thing, because I love it that he goes both ways. I think that's crazy. I think that's really awesome. But where I get hung up on it is that what's best for his team, or is that to put him in the Heisman conversation? I'm sure Dion would tell you that he's the best corner on the team and the best receiver on the team, so why wouldn't he play both? And the answer is I don't think you can play 100% at both.
And I'll be curious what he does in the NFL. He's a better corner than he is wide receiver.
Yeah, they'll make him choose.
But he's so good at both. Yeah, I'll be really curious.
They'd probably be crazy. If you draft Travis Hunter, you'd probably be crazy not to have like a slash package built in for him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you get him on the field for third downs or red zone or whatever, and for kind of I don't want to call it a gimmick, but a gimmick. Mm-hmm. And then have him as a full-time corner. There's no way an NFL team will let him play both ways because you just can't at that kind of level. You just can't.
I agree. And I get that everyone said the same thing about Shohei, and he has clearly bucked a trend. And
different sport.
It is totally different, and that is the thing. The NFL is just an animal.
If he were also
a monster.
If he were also the kicker, then knock yourself out.
Sure. Placeholder.
Right.
Long snapper, something, yeah. But you're right. You're asking him to play too many possessions, and every possession is too valuable that you can't get burned because you're tired on one side. Or you can't drop a ball because, you were just playing an 8-snap drive on defense.
Yeah, like baseball is 2 different skills. Like the comparison would be to have Shohei pitch every other day. Yeah. That would be the comparison.
Right. And, because it's not like until recently – there haven't been pitchers that have to hit in games. It was the entire National League forever until recently.
Yeah.
So, that's not that unique. It's unique to be that good of a hitter, but it's not that unique for him.
I think the physical toll is really what I'm talking about. How can you be that explosive on the field all of the time? I don't think it's in the sport of football. I don't think it's possible. That's why I'm saying if you had Shohei pitch every other day, that would be a similar demand.
Yeah. I think you're right.
But, it's pretty amazing.
And to your point, I remember Dion having a couple of offensive, not packages, but they would find ways to get him involved.
Dion's big problem is he couldn't catch.
Correct.
So, Travis Hunter certainly can catch.
Yeah.
He has proved that. Dion could catch it, could field a punt, but he had trouble catching a pass.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned. We wrap up.
It's not going to be good enough for the Jaguars, regardless of what they ask Travis Hunter to do. Or the Panthers. It's the Panthers. Giants now have the worst? Well, it's not going to fix that either. None of these teams will be fixed by Travis Hunter.
Honestly, more and more, I am out on the concept of a draft.
Okay. You're just done with it entirely.
Why should we sentence a player like Travis Hunter to play for the Giants just because he happens to be good?
Really? The Giants have the worst record now? Wow.
Or any of the other teams that always pick at the top of the stupid NFL draft. You know what I mean? Like Zach Wilson, like why should he be sentenced to play for the dang Jets?
I had this thought while we were just talking to Matt about Central Florida and spending all this money on KJ Jefferson and benching him. I'm just like, you know what I'm going to do? And I would do the same thing in the draft, I guess, because we saw the Lions do it. I'm just spending all my money on the offensive and defensive line, and that's it.
And we'll see.
And then whatever, because
that's Harbaugh's philosophy.
Dylan Risk is their fourth best quarterback entering the year, and he's their best player. He's their best starter at quarterback. It's like, so you spent a bunch of money on KJ Jefferson. It was stupid. What did you spend money on that guy for? You should have, just beefed up your right tackle because Penei Sewell came in and absolutely changed the Lions forever.
Yeah.
Because they didn't draft Justin Fields over Jared Goff. And that was a great decision.
That was a great decision.
An all-time great draft pick. You have the best right tackle in the NFL.
And Cincinnati had to make a controversial pick, which also kind of works out for them. Can't really barbecue him for it, but remember they passed on Sewell to draft
Jamar Chase.
Who's
awesome.
Yeah, who's great. But that was kind of a controversial thing that Sewell was even available for the Lions.
You know what? They should have taken Sewell.
Yeah, Sewell's better.
They still should have taken him over Jamar Chase.
I think so, too. He's that good.
Yep.
But, I mean, think about this, Ben. Instead of watching Travis Hunter fail to turn around the Giants, wouldn't you rather see him catch passes from Mahomes?
Sure, yeah. Go pick your spot.
Yeah, or like play for a decent franchise that puts him in a position to succeed as opposed to...
If someone says, we have cap space and we want to pay you to be the guy, do it.
Look at Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
That dude is arguably the best player in the NFL right now. Like you could make a really strong argument.
But the Giants didn't know what to do with him.
Just a waste.
Yep, absolutely.
Wasted the first, 5 years of his career? Just complete waste. Sad. I mean, even a team like, find a really dynamic defense that you could put Travis Hunter out there on an island, make it like San Francisco or something like that. It would be special.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, let's have him go to either Jacksonville or with the Giants or maybe the Jets. What are the commies doing?
No, they're good. They're going to have like a 28th pick, 26th pick. They're good.
How long is that going to last? I guess they have a new owner.
I think Jade Daniels is really good, or Jade McDaniels is very good. Jade Daniels.
Sure, but they'll ruin that somehow.
Their new owner probably won't.
Kirk Cousins was pretty good.
He was okay. But their ownership ruined it. They got new ownership.
Magic's got it?
I have a little
I don't
faith.
think so. They hired a basketball guy to be their consultant. That's just wasting money.
They hired the baseball guy. They hired Moneyball.
No, that was the Browns.
Oh,
they
that was
hired,
the Browns. No, didn't he move over to Washington after? Maybe he did.
So they hired Bob Myers.
You're right. They didn't hire Bob Myers to be a consultant. Outside the box, it worked. They're good this year for the first time.
Hey, you looked into Steph Curry.
You must be.
What do you think about our receiving core? All right.
We got a new song for you.
Yeah, we got a new song coming up next. All right, Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him made Jake's and also loves his tie guy. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Oh, I love this job. Jacob Ben, this segment brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Although I feel like I should say that Peach has no responsibility or accountability for what we're going to do next.
What we're about to do.
Yeah, my band.
Who just played this song.
Yep, we did. That's our reggae tribute to Jake and Ben.
Island Living or whatever it's called.
Yep, pretty good.
Island Vibes by the band No Boundaries.
No boundaries, because we don't have boundaries.
You can, no boundaries really in any way, but namely genre and subject matter.
Correct.
You will, anything that you think best fits the mood of the song you're writing about, you will utilize that.
Right.
And you will write about anything you want.
Correct.
So that's why your new song, Ruff Morning.
It's controversial.
Spelled R-U-F-F.
Ruff Morning.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
Is a rap.
It is. A little gritty.
Because it's kind of an affiliate song to Ice Cube's "It Was a Good Day."
Uh-huh.
Today, this is called Ruff Morning. It's the opposite of a good day.
And leave us up, Christian, when we play this.
It's a rap.
It is a rap.
The band No Boundaries.
Correct. All right. Are we ready? Let's play this thing.
Sunrise hits Hans's face. Morning brace for disaster. Broke dawn with heartache. Gus gone. Couldn't say my game. Now I'm master. Grief stricken. Breath quicken. Held my best friend in my arms. Eyes heavy. Mind spinning. Trying to stay calm through the qualms.
Right?
Fields calling, teammates brawling, paths clashing like storms collide. Hands got heart full of sorrow, sweat veins, head held high. Football's my solace, grit, die on grind through the pain. Us in my spirit, giving strength, pushing through the rain. Oh man, I've had a rough morning. Tears mixed with the sweat. Gus's memory keeps soaring through every scrimmage and set. Game one for you, buddy. In the end zone I met. Victory's bittersweet, carrying that heavy regret.
Yeah.
That's a verse. Kendrick could do no better.
Pretty good, huh?
Football's my solace. It's right. It's absolutely right.
Winning the game?
Gus could not save his canine master.
No.
Because Gus died in Hans' arms. 12:30 this morning.
It's a pretty good jam, yes?
It's the most well put together song you guys have written. And then you got a guest lyricist to come in, or not lyricist, but
oh, that's our buddy Dale.
That's Dale came in.
Yeah.
And rapped it for you.
Really skilled rapper.
He's
yeah, but you know, I put out the lyrics, so
you wrote the lyrics.
He had a lot to.
I like how versatile you are. Again, no boundaries.
That's what I do.
It was good.
What do you want me to work on next? What genre?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
All right.
But yeah, you've been you're a much more talented songwriter than I expected.
Do we want to squeeze in worst game of the weekend real quick?
Let's do it. Where were we last week?
Last week I was out, so I don't think you guys did it.
Oh, man.
The week before we did USF at Charlotte. Jake, you picked Charlotte, and they got murdered.
They lost.
59-24.
My Niners. Then they fired their coach.
Oh, wow. Kiss of death.
It was bad.
So what am I, -2?
So Jake is at +4.
Oh, so the season's over. I mean, I guess.
The season's over.
Unless we go college football playoff. We'll go through the whole thing.
We could.
Okay, let's do it. So I have a chance to come back and tie it up.
So today we're doing Air Force at San Diego State. The over-under is 43.5. Air Force is 5-point road favorites.
I'm taking
Both
Air Force.
2-4 in Mountain West play.
I'm taking Air Force. San Diego State got crushed by Utah State last week. And Air Force is going to run the ball. Give me Air Force.
All right. That is a bad game.
Yeah, that's unwatchable.
Coming up next, our guys Hanson, Scotty G on a Football Friday. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thanks, Christian.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.